The biggest key to victory for the Aggies against the South Carolina Gamecocks is controlling the line of scrimmage.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnCollege and use code LockedOnCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. Today, we're going to break down the keys to a victory for Texas A&M over the South Carolina Gamecocks. The bye week's over. The team is rested, getting healthy, hopefully, and ready to rock and roll. So today we are going to run through how can the Aggies win this game? What are the keys? What do they have to do to leave with the victory? And the big blaring one that I said as we got going today is control the line of scrimmage. And when I say this, of course, we're talking both sides of the ball. We're going to talk about in segment 2 why you need constant pressure, but controlling the line of scrimmage, I think you could argue will be a key, and this game will be a key in the rest of the games. And you could argue more than a key. It's like if you don't do it, you ain't going to win. So controlling the line of scrimmage, like I say, that's a lot more than just winning up front. I think that means the offensive line has got to help Le'Veon Moss, has got to help Ruben Owens, and has got to help Max Johnson. And then the defensive line has to make Spencer Rattler's life a living epitome of awfulness. That is what they need to do. They need to make Spencer Rattler's life awful. And if you control the line of scrimmage in an SEC football game, more times than not, you're going to win that game, unless some ugly turnovers happen, stuff like that. So I think this is going to be a big key in this game, is just making sure. We've talked about how much the offensive line has struggled, how ugly it's been at times, and, things that the offensive line's got to be better. South Carolina, we talked about the other week, they aren't a team that's going to rack up a ton of sacks. They aren't this team that's going to sack the quarterback 42 times, like Texas A&M and Tennessee and Bama. So, and I said this yesterday, but I want to reiterate this because I think it's a solid point, but this offensive line has played probably the two best defensive fronts in the SEC and probably top 5 in college football in back-to-back weeks. That's not an excuse. That's not an excuse for poor performance. I'm just saying this week should be better because this defensive front is not as good as the ones that the Aggies just got done facing before the bye week. And I mean, that's going to help me sleep at night, knowing okay, this pass rush isn't quite as good as the ones we've seen this year. Maybe this offensive line can hold up. But I think that's going to be key. And I'm not talking a ton about pass rush because we'll talk about that in segment 2. But like I said, both sides of the ball, I want to see the Aggies control the line of scrimmage. I think this. I know people are concerned about the offensive line, and I am too. I'm not sitting here saying I'm not concerned, but I just have a feeling that this game's going to be a lot better. I don't think we're going to be as concerned about it leaving this ball game. I think we're going to kind of just realize, Tennessee and Alabama just have really good defensive fronts. Did our offensive line play good against those teams? No, but that's kind of what we're going to learn, I believe. The next thing I have here is hold Spencer Rattler to 250 passing yards or less. Looking at his numbers, which, like I say, and remember, y'all, I'm recording before the Missouri game, so whatever he puts up against Missouri, we don't know yet. I don't know yet. Y'all listening know, but where we're sitting right now when I'm recording this, the Gamecocks are 2-4. Their wins are over Furman and Mississippi State. So, I mean, in that win over Mississippi State, Rattler had 288, 3 touchdowns. He completed 18. Did I read that? 18 to 20. Wow, he was 18 to 20 in that game. Against Tennessee in the big loss, he had $169 and an interception. Against Florida in a loss, I assume he had a bunch of yards in that one. Yep, he was 23 for 30 for 313, 4 touchdowns and an interception against Florida. So he can play good and they can still lose based on their defense. But if you hold what we've seen, I think, from some of these teams, from these other performances, is if you hold him under about 250, you can win. Now, if he goes for 325, can you still win? Yes, right here. North Carolina beat South Carolina to open the season. Rattler was 30-39 for 353. He can still put up 315, 330, and you can win this game. But you would, if I'll tell you this, if you hold him to 250 passing yards or less, I feel extremely confident that you're going to win this football game. Because here's the deal. I mean, they're averaging right now a little over, they have 587 yards on the ground, and they've played 6 games, so they're averaging less than 100 yards on the ground. So that means if you hold him to 250 and they rush for their average, they only put together 350-ish yards of offense, which is not going to beat Texas A&M, especially with the Aggies playing at home. So I think that needs to be what we see for the Aggies in this game. I think that they need to hold him. We're talking about the pressure, but I think it's me part of it. But yeah, if you hold Rattler to less than 250, I think that Texas A&M wins this game pretty handsomely, to be brutally honest with you. The next thing I have here is I want to see Max go over 250. In that first game where Max kind of took over, he had 210 and against Arkansas. Then against Alabama, he has 239. Then against Tennessee, he has 223. I want to see him go over 250. I want to see him have a big game. I'd love to see Max over, complete 72% of his passes for 315 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like, I would love to see him put up that kind of game. I think, I think that this is a game where they want Max Johnson, which is fair, and I think to be a game manager, which for this Texas A&M team to win games, I do think they can win games with him just managing games well. But I think he can bust out some big games. I think he can bust out some 300-yard games. I'd like to see it happen. And the reason I say that, more so than this game, when I say this, I'm not looking past South Carolina, because you can't. This team, if Rattler comes in and has a good game, this team can beat you. But what I am saying is this. I think that you're going to have to win in the shootout if you're going to beat Ole Miss and LSU. So I don't think game manager Max Johnson is going to get a win in Baton Rouge or in Oxford. I think you have to see him really, throw for a lot of yards, throw for a handful of yards. And if he doesn't, I don't know how you're going to win those games. So that's why I'd like to see them open it up a little bit in this game. I'd love to see Max go for 350 through the air, 310 through the air, something like that, or even just beat 250. Like I said, if he went for 275 and 2 touchdowns, I'm happy with it. Point here is, I think that we need to start seeing some big games from Max Johnson, because, after South Carolina, it's Ole Miss. On the road, you're going to have to score points to beat that Lane Kiffin offense to win that football game. So, I think this is a good practice round. Say, hey, Max, we want you to put up a whole bunch of yards in this game. The next thing I have is I want to see Evan Stewart go over 100 yards receiving. And, look back at his numbers. He just hasn't been as involved as I would have liked. Against Tennessee, he has 4 receptions for 48 yards. Against Alabama, Evan Stewart has 3 receptions for 46 yards. He hasn't been involved like many would hope. Against Arkansas, I know that he was able to get in the end zone, but 2 receptions for 50 yards. Feed this guy. Get the football in his hands. We know good things happen when you get the football to Evan Stewart, and we need to see that play out more. We need to see it. So get the football to Evan Stewart. Let him eat. I think that he's due for a big game. I think he's due for 125 and 2 touchdown kind of game. We talked about on the Mailbag Show on Friday last week about how do I think that a receiver gets to 1,000 yards. It's going to take a little bit, around 100 and so yards per game from Evan Stewart to get over 1,000. I think he would like to do that. So I think to see him get $125 in this game and a couple touchdowns would be awesome. And I think he could do it because this South Carolina secondary doesn't really terrify me. So I want to see I wouldn't say breakout game from Evan Stewart because he's had some big games, but I'd love to see a big game, a score, maybe a couple scores, and a whole bunch of yards up on the stat sheet for Evan Stewart. We're going to talk about why you need to get Anaya Smith involved, why you need to feed the studs, and why we need touchdowns, not field goals, and more keys to a win in this ball game coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, we're going to talk about our wonderful friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to go bet over-unders on all sports. It's not just football. I prefer football because that's just me. Those are you hockey lovers. Those are you baseball lovers. I love baseball too. I just don't really bet on baseball. But point is, you can bet on anything. You can bet on player Jose Altuve over 0.5 singles. You can bet on CJ Stroud over 272 passing yards. You can bet on Tank Dell over 44 receiving yards. You can bet on Connor Bedard. I think that's that new guy for in Chicago, the hockey player. You can bet on him over 0.5 points. You can bet on over and unders for all your favorite sports. It's just a ton of fun. It makes the game more fun. I love Prize Picks. You have got to go check it out. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use code LockedOnCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and promo code LockedOnCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. Some more keys to a victory in this ball game. Anaya Smith, I think, needs to get more involved. I don't think I know. I mean, you want to talk about dynamic. I about misspoke and said that word wrong. Dynamic. You try to find a more dynamic player than Anaya Smith. I mean, we've seen it on punt returns. We've seen it when the football gets in his hands. He just is really, really, really good with the football in his hands. He can make people miss. You got to feed him. Look at the numbers against Tennessee for Anaya Smith. I think they have, was he held catchless or did he have one catch? I forget now. One catch for 20 yards. You got to get the football in his hands. I think if you do that, you're going to see him make people miss. He's going to break some off for big touchdowns. He can do that. That's how talented he is. So I want to see the ball in his hands. They haven't gotten it to him as much as I would have liked this season, especially in this football game, in big football games. Against Ole Miss and LSU, you need Anaya Smith to make a big play. You need him to catch a slant on 3rd and 7 and take it to the house from 45 yards out. These are the things you need Anaya Smith to do. I want to see it play out. I want to see you get the football to him. So, Anaya Smith, I want to get him the football. Feed your studs. Get it to Evan Stewart. Get it to Anaya Smith. Feed these guys. They will make plays. They will make good things happen. The other thing that has been a constant theme here on Locked On Aggies, which is score touchdowns, don't kick field goals. And then the flip side of that, we want to bend and don't break, hold South Carolina to 3. Don't let them score touchdowns. This is the type of game, I mean, it's just, I don't like how many times the Aggies get in the red zone and kick field goals. You attempt 3 field goals. Now, not all of them are from the red zone, but you attempt 3 field goals against Tennessee. I'm tired of field goals. No more field goals. I love you, Randy, but dang it, I don't want to see you out there. I want touchdowns. All Aggie fans want touchdowns. I want to see this team put up 7. Well, yeah, Randy, I do want to see you out there kicking extra points. That's what I want to see. So I want to see more touchdowns in this ball game. Coach Fisher talked about how he wants the red zone touchdown percentage to be closer to 75. It hasn't been there. It needs to be there because touchdowns are how you win football games. We need to see it play out. You have got to start scoring more touchdowns in the red zone. Otherwise, 3 points don't win games. 7 points win games. We need to see the Aggies score more touchdowns when they get into the scoring zone, when they get into the red zone. And then, like I said, the flip side of that, hold South Carolina. Don't let them score touchdowns. They can kick as many field goals as they want. I look at it like they can kick 2 field goals and I can score 1 touchdown and I got a 1-point lead. So let them kick as many field goals as they want. Keep them out of the end zone. And I think that's another route to winning this football game. So another thing I would love to see in these games, and like I say, I'm kind of taking this game against South Carolina. When I say things like this, like I said, I don't want y'all to think I'm saying look past this game because South Carolina with their quarterback can beat you if you overlook them. They can. I know the record isn't great. I assume they're going to. I assume, like I said, I'm recording this early. I assume they're going to lose to Missouri and fall to 2-5, would it be 2-5, right? Yeah, 2-5 on the season. I assume that if they don't, you know what I mean, maybe they're coming in a little bit of a high. But point is, what I'm getting at here is I would love to see Le'Veon Moss go for 100 yards on the ground, which I think he's capable of doing. I look at this and I kind of go, you know, we keep having this dream that the run game is going to get going. Is it going to get going? I don't know. You know, I think it's a lot up to the offensive line. I think it has more to do with the offensive line than it does, like I said, does the running backs. I mean, I believe these running backs, if you give them a hole, they're going to find the hole. They're going to pick up some positive yards. So I'd love to get the running game going. Like I said, I think Le'Veon Moss going for over 100 yards would be awesome in this ball game. Not like it matters in this ball game, what I'm saying, even though it does. You need to win this game, but I'm just saying you're going to need to move the football against LSU and Ole Miss if you want to win one of those two games. And I think having a balanced attack, having your running backs move the football, that is going to help. That's how you're going to find a way to win this game. So I want to see that. I want to see Le'Veon Moss go for over 100 yards on the ground. That would really have me excited if he was able to do that now that he's kind of taken over as the guy. Here's where we're going to talk about getting constant pressure on Spencer Rattler. Rattler's a veteran quarterback. He's experienced. He knows how to play. He's a talented guy. No, it doesn't matter how good you are, how experienced you are, how long you've been playing college football. If there is pressure in your face on every single play, it is hard to throw the football. It is hard to not make mistakes. That is how you're going to make a veteran guy make a mistake, is you get constant pressure. You're in his face all game long. You're making him make mistakes. That is what we need to see. That is what we need to see in this ball game. We need to see him pressured the whole game, in his face the whole game, make him make bad decisions, make him turn the football over. That's what I want to see on Saturday. That's how I think you win this game, is you are constantly pressuring Spencer Rattler. Continue to get sacks, more and more and more sacks. Rack them up. Keep getting more. I've talked about it time and time again. We want to see more sacks. So, love to see that play out. Pressure all game long. I think if you do that, if you're in the backfield all game long, if you have 4, 5, 6 sacks, I think you win this football game pretty easily. The next thing I have is pick Rattler off. I've been talking about I want to create more turnovers. We need to create more turnovers. Go pick off Rattler. Intercept him. I just think that is how you put to bed hopes of an upset. And I think that's what it's simple as that. That's what you do. You go and you just flat out don't let him do anything. You pick the football off, set yourself up with some good field position, score a touchdown. That is how you really deflate an opposing team. So I think getting an interception off Rattler would be helpful in this ball game. He's proven that he is liable to throw some in his career. As they currently sit so far this season, Rattler has thrown 4 interceptions. Not a terrible number, but he can throw them. He's liable to throw them. Go pick him off. I just think that's a real way to deflate a football team, deflate a player. Do it early too. Do it in the first quarter. Do it in the first possession. I just think that's a good way to deflate a football team early, to deflate a quarterback early, is to pick him off to where he's like, oh man, this is going to be a rough day. He's getting in his head. He's thinking about it. Then he starts missing the little throws that a quarterback of his caliber and a quarterback of his experience should be making. So I think a key to the victory is pick off Rattler or force a fumble. Make him. I think interceptions I like better, because then the quarterback's in his head. Oh man, I made a mistake. What did I do? Where should I throw the football? I need to be more neat. I need to be more fine. And then they start maybe getting in their head, making more mistakes. So I think if I had the choice of a fumble or an interception from Rattler, I would choose the interception, because I think that's when you start to get in your own head. The next thing I have here is tight ends getting involved. We've talked about it. Tight ends have hurt the Gamecocks this season. And now they actually held Brock Bowers to a not Brock Bowers kind of game. Let me pull up the exact numbers. No, I mean, he wasn't terrible, but it's not like you're 9 for 115 and 2 touchdowns type of thing. He had 7 receptions for 54 yards. Like I said, not a bad number. His long reception in that game was 13. But some other schools Florida, the tight ends kind of bit South Carolina apart. I think we saw that play out in the North Carolina game. I'll double check that too. But yes, I think that the the tight end for the North Carolina Tar Heels had 3 catches for 52 yards and a touchdown. You can beat this team with your tight ends. So I think Jake Johnson needs to have a good game, get the ball in his hands, brother-to-brother connection. I think you could see, if I was going to bet an anytime touchdown scorer in this game, maybe at some high plus odds, I think I'd go Jake Johnson just based off Le'Veon Moss's odds would be low. So would some, Evan Stewart's and Noah Thomas's. Jake Johnson's might be up there. That's where I would lean if I was going to do that, because I think he'll have a big game, and I think it's just a way to kind of exploit this South Carolina defense in a way that they've struggled at this point in the season. And the last thing I have here is to energize. We want an energized crowd at an 11 o'clock kickoff, which I like I said, I'm never concerned about, but you just Aggie fans are upset right now at Coach Fisher, at the way the season's gone. I get it, but you still got to stay behind these student athletes. We got to be loud. We got to be proud in this ball game, and get a big win here, because, like I said, you went out 9-3 is still on the table. Do I think it's going to happen? No, but what I'm getting at here is, if you do win out, if you do win, that's a 10-3 with a bowl win still on the table. It's technically still on the table. So let's be energized. Let's be loud. Let's be proud. Let's scream. 12th man, get after it. Let's have a big crowd game against the South Carolina Gamecocks. That is the keys to a win over the South Carolina Gamecocks. Now we are going to talk about some bowl predictions that I have seen multiple places, and we'll do that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. Let's talk about JCE Medical first. JCE Medical is one of the most innovative, interesting new companies / products that I've seen in a long time. They are able to give you antibiotics, 5 antibiotics that can help you with multiple different infections, multiple different things that could be wrong with you for emergency situations. Whether it's late at night and your regular doctor's closed and you can't get in and something's wrong, or you are out on a trip and you're out fishing, and like I am right now as y'all are watching this, and you're doing something and you get sick and you need something, you can have it with you to keep you safe in these dire moments. It's a good idea. Think of it like almost like a survival kind of kit, but that's kind of what they do, is they help you in a pinch, and it's just a great product. They also offer JCE Daily, which is they will send you your daily medicines. If you're someone who takes a pill daily, they'll send you that a supply of it, to where if you run out, if something were to happen, you have extra of your medicine until you're able to get a new supply of it. JCE Medical is just a really smart company, a really smart product that you have just got to check out. I highly recommend it. You will not regret it. Go to jcemedical.com and enter code LOCKEDON at checkout for a $20 discount on your order. That's promo code LOCKEDON at jcemedical.com. The last thing we're going to talk about here today on Locked On Aggies before we call it a day is some bowl predictions. The reason I want to talk about this is because, I always check out bowl predictions to see where they have the Aggies, who they have them playing, and I'm starting to see a common theme, and that is Texas A&M taking on Oklahoma State in the Texas Bowl on December 27th. This would be a fun football game. I think this would be fun. This would be a fun bowl game. It would be an energized bowl game with the proximity to both schools. I think this would be a good bowl for the Aggies to play in. So hopefully that's true. I still think that potentially a better bowl game than this is on the table if the Aggies win both of the games against Ole Miss and LSU, but also if they find a way to just win one of those two games. I think they could sneak into a different bowl game. But if not, this is going to be a fun bowl game, a cool bowl game that fans can enjoy, fans will be able to appreciate. So we're getting to bowl prediction season. Bowl season will be fun. It'll be awesome to break that down, have shows coming out and talk about the game. So bowls are always fun. It'll be enjoyable to break that down for y'all and talk about it and really get going talking about the bowl season. And then after that, we got basketball season coming up. And like I said last week, there's a lot of buzz. Thank you for my pun of the day around this Texas A&M basketball team. The Aggies are going to be really good, and it's going to be a ton of fun to talk about it all season long right here on Locked On Aggies. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. On Thursday, we will have a show with Locked On Gamecocks host Andrew Lyon. He's awesome. It'll be a ton of fun. It's going to be a battle of the Andrews talking about our respective teams. It's going to be fun to hear the South Carolina perspective of this ball game. Learn a little bit about the Gamecocks, what they're doing. We'll hear from him on Thursday's episode of Locked On Aggies. That is going to be a ton of fun breaking down that ball game. I hope everybody has an amazing rest of your day today. Thank you so much for tuning in to the show every single day. Like I always say, it means so much to me that y'all tune in every day, watch every day. I couldn't do what I do on a day-to-day basis without you, the listener. So thanks for those of you that have stuck through the losses and are here still watching every single day. I appreciate you. Like I said, y'all, fun show tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day today, and we will see you for a Locked On crossover tomorrow.